The biting wind whipped through the city streets, sending shivers down the spine of a lone figure huddled beneath a thin blanket. The man, his face etched with hardship and his eyes holding a haunted look, clutched a cardboard sign that read, "Veteran, anything helps, God bless." This man, once a symbol of strength and courage, now represents a growing and often invisible crisis plaguing our nation: veteran homelessness. His story, though unique in its details, echoes the experiences of countless veterans across the country who find themselves without a safe and stable place to call home. They are our fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, sons and daughters who, after sacrificing so much for our freedom, are now fighting a new battle, a silent battle against poverty, mental health challenges and societal indifference. This is not just a statistic, it is a human tragedy. These are the men and women who swore to protect our nation, who stood on the front lines, who faced unimaginable dangers, and who carry the invisible scars of war. Yet when they return home, many find themselves lost in a system that seems ill-equipped to support their transition back to civilian life. The scope of veteran homelessness is staggering. According to recent estimates, over 37,000 veterans experience homelessness on any given night in the United States. This number represents a significant portion of the overall homeless population, highlighting the disproportionate impact this crisis has on those who have served our country. The causes of veteran homelessness are complex and multifaceted, stemming from a combination of factors. These include the invisible wounds of war, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and traumatic brain injury, TBI, which can make it challenging to maintain employment and stable housing. The transition from military to civilian life can be jarring, leaving many veterans feeling lost and without purpose. Moreover, economic hardship, lack of affordable housing, and insufficient access to mental health care all contribute to the growing number of veterans experiencing homelessness. The system designed to support them often falls short, leaving many veterans feeling forgotten and abandoned by the very nation they risked their lives to protect. This is not simply a matter of individual misfortune, it is a societal failure. It is a failure to adequately address the unique needs of our veterans, to provide them with the resources and support they deserve, and to honor their sacrifice with the dignity and respect they have earned. The horrors of war leave an indelible mark on those who experience it. For many veterans, the battlefield follows them home, manifesting in invisible wounds that run deep. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, a debilitating mental health condition triggered by exposure to traumatic events, plagues a significant number of veterans. The nightmares, flashbacks, anxiety, and hypervigilance associated with PTSD make it incredibly difficult for them to adjust to civilian life, hold down jobs, or maintain healthy relationships. Adding to their burden, many veterans also grapple with traumatic brain injury, TBI, often caused by explosions or other combat-related head trauma. TBI can result in a wide range of physical, cognitive, and emotional impairments, further hindering their ability to function in civilian society. The combination of PTSD and TBI creates a perfect storm, leaving veterans vulnerable to homelessness as they struggle to cope with their invisible wounds. These mental health challenges are often compounded by the stigma surrounding mental illness, which discourages veterans from seeking help. The fear of being perceived as weak or broken prevents them from accessing the treatment they desperately need, pushing them further into isolation and despair. The lack of adequate mental health care for veterans is a glaring gap in our system, leaving them to fight their battles alone and unsupported. The transition from the structured environment of the military to the complexities of civilian life can be overwhelming for veterans, especially those grappling with invisible wounds. The absence of a clear mission, the loss of camaraderie, and the difficulty of translating military skills into civilian careers can leave them feeling lost and uncertain. This sense of disorientation, coupled with their mental health struggles, increases their vulnerability to homelessness. Returning home from service often comes with the harsh reality of economic hardship. many veterans struggle to find employment that matches their skills and experience. The transition from a regimented military environment to the competitive civilian job market can be daunting, leaving them feeling underqualified or out of place. The lack of adequate job training programs tailored to veterans' unique needs further exacerbates this challenge. Even when veterans secure employment, they often face wage disparities compared to their civilian counterparts. This income gap, combined with the financial strain of supporting families, paying for housing and managing medical expenses, can quickly push them to the brink of homelessness. The economic pressures of civilian life can be relentless, especially for those already battling the invisible wounds of war. Furthermore, the bureaucratic hurdles veterans often encounter when seeking financial assistance can be incredibly frustrating. Navigating the complex web of government programs and benefits can be overwhelming, particularly for those struggling with mental health issues or lacking support systems. The delays and denials they face can be demoralizing, making it even harder to climb out of financial instability. The lack of affordable housing in many parts of the country poses another significant barrier for veterans struggling to make ends meet. The rising cost of rent and the scarcity of housing options, particularly in urban areas, make it nearly impossible for low-income veterans to secure safe and stable housing. The shortage of affordable housing is a crisis that affects many Americans, but it disproportionately impacts veterans, pushing them closer to the streets. The bonds forged in the crucible of combat are unbreakable, but the return to civilian life can strain even the strongest connections. Many veterans return home to find that their relationships with family and friends have changed. The emotional distance created by their experiences, coupled with the challenges of readjusting to civilian life, can lead to misunderstandings, resentment, and strained relationships. The invisible wounds of war can also manifest in ways that push loved ones away. Outbursts of anger, irritability, and emotional detachment, common symptoms of PTSD, can create tension and conflict within families. The lack of understanding about the invisible scars of war can lead to feelings of isolation for both the veteran and their loved ones. Moreover, the support systems that veterans rely on are often inadequate or inaccessible. The transition from the tight-knit community of the military to the relative anonymity of civilian life can be isolating. Veterans may feel like they have nowhere to turn when facing personal crises or struggling to adjust to their new reality. This lack of support, combined with the emotional strain of their experiences, can lead to substance abuse as a coping mechanism. The self-medication of pain, trauma, and loneliness creates a vicious cycle, further isolating veterans from their loved ones and pushing them closer to homelessness. The breakdown of relationships and support systems leaves them vulnerable and alone, increasing their risk of ending up on the streets. The scarcity of affordable housing in the United States has reached crisis levels, and veterans are among those hit the hardest. The rising cost of living, coupled with stagnant wages and limited housing assistance programs, has made it increasingly difficult for low-income Americans, including veterans, to keep a roof over their heads. The lack of affordable housing options forces many veterans to choose between paying rent and meeting their basic needs, such as food, healthcare, and transportation. While the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, offers various housing assistance programs, including rental subsidies and supportive housing for veterans experiencing homelessness, these programs are often oversubscribed and underfunded. The waiting list for VA housing vouchers can be years long, leaving veterans stranded and without stable housing in the interim. The lack of adequate funding and resources for these programs limits their effectiveness in addressing the growing crisis of veteran homelessness. Furthermore, the stigma surrounding homelessness prevents many veterans from seeking help or accessing available resources. The shame and embarrassment associated with homelessness can be paralyzing, leading them to suffer in silence rather than reach out for support. This reluctance to seek help can have devastating consequences, as it prevents veterans from accessing the services that could help them regain their footing and rebuild their lives. The lack of accessible and affordable healthcare, particularly mental health care, further exacerbates the challenges faced by homeless veterans. without access to regular medical and mental health treatment, their physical and mental health conditions can deteriorate rapidly, making it even more difficult to escape the cycle of homelessness. Addressing the root causes of veteran homelessness, including the lack of affordable housing, is crucial to ensuring that those who have served our country have a safe and stable place to call home. The descent into homelessness is rarely sudden. It's a gradual unraveling, a slow erosion of dignity and hope. For veterans already grappling with the invisible wounds of war, the loss of a stable home can be the final blow, sending them spiraling into a world of uncertainty and despair. Imagine the veteran who once led a platoon into battle, now forced to sleep on the cold, unforgiving streets, his only companions the shadows and the biting wind. The transition from a structured military environment where order and purpose prevailed to the chaos and unpredictability of homelessness can be profoundly disorienting. The loss of routine, the absence of camaraderie, and the constant struggle for basic necessities take a heavy toll on their mental and emotional well-being. The trauma of combat, once buried beneath layers of duty and discipline, can resurface with a vengeance, amplified by the harsh realities of their current circumstances. Nightmares become more frequent, flashbacks more vivid, and the weight of their experiences becomes an unbearable burden. The very act of falling asleep in a doorway or under a bridge becomes fraught with danger, a constant reminder of their vulnerability. As days turn into weeks and weeks into months, the corrosive effects of homelessness begin to eat away at their sense of self-worth. The shame of being homeless, of being seen as a failure, a burden to society, can be paralyzing. The once proud soldier who risked everything for his country is now reduced to begging for spare change, his service and sacrifice seemingly forgotten. The physical toll of homelessness on veterans is impossible to ignore. Exposure to the elements, poor sanitation, and lack of access to nutritious food weaken their immune systems, making them susceptible to a host of health problems. Chronic illnesses such as heart disease, diabetes, and respiratory infections are more common among homeless veterans, and their severity often exacerbated by their living conditions. The lack of access to regular health care further compounds these problems. Without a permanent address, obtaining necessary medications becomes a logistical nightmare, and routine checkups are a luxury they can ill afford. The cycle of illness and inadequate care creates a downward spiral, leaving them trapped in a system that seems ill-equipped to meet their needs. Mental health issues, already prevalent among veterans, are often magnified by the stress and trauma of homelessness. The constant fear, the lack of sleep, and the struggle for survival take a heavy toll on their mental well-being, leading to increased anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. The physical and mental scars of homelessness are a stark reminder of the human cost of this crisis. These are not just statistics, they are real people, our fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters, who deserve better than to be forgotten and left to fend for themselves on the streets. Perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of veteran homelessness is the societal indifference it often encounters. The very people who once cheered their service and sacrifice now avert their gaze, uncomfortable with the stark reality of their circumstances. The homeless veteran, once a symbol of strength and courage, becomes invisible, just another face in the crowd of the forgotten. The stigma surrounding homelessness further isolates them, reinforcing the misconception that they are somehow responsible for their predicament. The judgmental stares, the whispers, and the unspoken assumptions create an invisible barrier, making it even harder for them to ask for help or access the services they need. The media too often perpetuates stereotypes about homelessness, focusing on sensationalized stories that fail to capture the complexity of the issue or the humanity of those experiencing it. The stories of veterans struggling with PTSD, TBI, or the challenges of reintegration are rarely told, replaced by narratives that reinforce existing biases and prejudices. This lack of understanding and empathy creates a dangerous disconnect between veterans experiencing homelessness and the society they risk their lives to protect. It's a collective blindness to the struggles of those who have borne the true cost of our freedom, a failure to recognize their humanity and honor their sacrifice. The cumulative impact of these challenges can be devastating, eroding the very core of a veteran's being. The constant struggle for survival, the lack of support, and the societal indifference chip away at their hope, leaving them feeling lost, broken, and utterly alone. Imagine the despair of a veteran who once dreamed of a bright future, now struggling to envision a way out of his current circumstances. The psychological toll of homelessness is immeasurable. The loss of dignity, the feeling of being trapped, and the absence of hope can lead to a sense of learned helplessness, a belief that their situation is impossible to change. They may withdraw from society, isolating themselves further, their dreams and aspirations fading into the shadows. The trauma of combat, combined with the trauma of homelessness, can create a toxic mix, leaving them vulnerable to self-destructive behaviors. Substance abuse, already a concern for many veterans, becomes a way to numb the pain, to escape the harsh realities of their daily existence. This erosion of hope is a tragedy in itself, a loss of human potential that extends far beyond the individual. When we allow our veterans to fall through the cracks, when we fail to provide them with the support and compassion they deserve, we diminish ourselves as a society. We lose sight of the very values they fought to protect: freedom, opportunity, and the pursuit of happiness, and we betray the trust they placed in us. The plight of homeless veterans is a stark reminder of the responsibility we bear to those who have served our country. Recognizing this duty, the government has implemented various programs and initiatives aimed at addressing this complex issue. The Department of Veterans Affairs, the largest integrated healthcare system in the United States, plays a crucial role in providing essential services to veterans, including those experiencing homelessness. One of the VA's key programs is the HUD-VASH program, a collaborative effort with the Department of Housing and Urban Development that provides rental assistance vouchers and supportive services to homeless veterans. This program has been instrumental in helping thousands of veterans transition into permanent housing, offering them a path to stability and self-sufficiency. In addition to housing assistance, the VA offers a wide range of services tailored to the unique needs of homeless veterans, including mental health counseling, substance abuse treatment, job training, and legal assistance. These comprehensive services aim to address the root causes of homelessness, providing veterans with the tools they need to rebuild their lives. However, despite these efforts, significant challenges remain. The demand for VA services often outstrips the available resources, resulting in long waiting lists and limited access to care. Funding shortages, bureaucratic hurdles, and a complex web of eligibility requirements can create barriers for veterans seeking assistance, leaving many feeling frustrated and discouraged. While the government plays a vital role in addressing veteran homelessness, the efforts of non-profit organizations are equally crucial in bridging the gap between need and support. These organizations, often staffed by dedicated individuals with a passion for serving those who have served our country, work tirelessly to provide a safety net for veterans facing difficult circumstances. From providing emergency shelter and hot meals to offering job training, legal aid, and mental health support, these organizations work on the front lines of the crisis, offering a lifeline to veterans who might otherwise fall through the cracks. They understand the unique challenges faced by veterans, often providing a level of personalized attention and support that government agencies struggle to match. Many nonprofits specialize in addressing specific needs within the homeless veteran population. For example, some focus on helping female veterans who face unique challenges such as military sexual trauma and the struggle to find affordable childcare. Others concentrate on veterans with traumatic brain injuries or those battling addiction, providing specialized care and support tailored to their specific circumstances. The tireless efforts of these non-profit warriors are a testament to the power of compassion and the enduring belief that no veteran should be left behind. They work tirelessly to restore hope and dignity to those who have sacrificed so much. reminding us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can triumph over adversity. Despite the commendable efforts of both government agencies and non-profit organizations, the fight to end veteran homelessness is far from over. The complex interplay of factors contributing to this crisis demands a multifaceted approach, one that addresses not only the symptoms but also the root causes. It requires a collective effort, a national call to action that mobilizes resources, raises awareness, and fosters a culture of empathy and support for our veterans. One crucial step is to increase funding for existing programs and initiatives, ensuring that they have the resources necessary to meet the growing demand for services. Streamlining the bureaucratic processes involved in accessing these services can also make a significant difference, removing barriers and making it easier for veterans to get the help they need. Investing in affordable housing initiatives is another critical component of a comprehensive solution. Expanding access to affordable housing options, particularly for low-income veterans, can provide the stability and security they need to rebuild their lives. This requires a commitment from policymakers at all levels of government to prioritize affordable housing as a national imperative. However, our responsibility extends beyond government programs and funding allocations. It requires a fundamental shift in our societal attitudes towards homelessness and those who experience it. We must move beyond the stereotypes and prejudices that perpetuate indifference and instead embrace a culture of empathy, understanding, and compassion. The sight of a homeless veteran huddled against the biting wind, clutching a cardboard sign that reads, "Veteran, anything helps. God bless," should stir something deep within us. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of freedom, a testament to the sacrifices made by those who answered the call to serve. These are the men and women who stood on the front lines, who faced unimaginable dangers, who carried the weight of our nation's security on their shoulders. They deserve more than a passing glance, more than a few spare coins tossed their way. They deserve our respect, our gratitude, and our unwavering commitment to ensuring their well-being. Their service didn't end when they left the battlefield. Many continue to carry the invisible wounds of war, PTSD, TBI, moral injury, long after the guns have fallen silent. These wounds, often hidden from view, can make it incredibly challenging to adjust to civilian life, to find meaningful employment, to maintain stable relationships. The transition from the structured environment of the military to the complexities of civilian society can be disorienting, leaving them feeling lost, alone, and unsure of their place in a world they once risked everything to protect. We must remember that these are not just statistics, not just faceless figures in a national crisis. They are individuals with names, with families, with dreams, with hopes, with fears. They are our fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, sons and daughters who, despite the sacrifices they've made, find themselves struggling to survive on the very soil they fought to defend. The crisis of veteran homelessness is a collective failure, a societal blind spot that we can no longer afford to ignore. It's a failure to adequately address the unique needs of those who have served our country, to provide them with the resources and support they deserve, to honor their sacrifice with the dignity and respect they have earned. The time for complacency is long past. The time for action is now. We can start by demanding that our elected officials prioritize this issue, that they allocate the necessary resources to expand existing programs and develop innovative solutions. We can advocate for increased funding for affordable housing initiatives, for expanded access to mental health care, for job training programs tailored to veterans' unique skills and experiences. But our responsibility extends far beyond government programs and policy changes. We must also challenge the stereotypes and prejudices that perpetuate indifference towards homelessness. We must open our hearts and minds to the stories of those who have served, to their struggles, their triumphs, their humanity. We must see them, not as burdens on society, but as valuable members of our communities who deserve our compassion, our support, and our unwavering belief in their potential to thrive. The journey from homelessness to hope is rarely linear. It's a winding path fraught with challenges and setbacks. But with the right support, with access to the resources they need, with a community that believes in their resilience, veterans experiencing homelessness can rebuild their lives, reclaiming their dignity, their purpose, and their place in society. Imagine the transformation that occurs when a veteran, once lost in the throes of PTSD, finds solace and healing through therapy and peer support groups. Imagine the sense of accomplishment that washes over them when they secure meaningful employment, their skills and experience valued once again. Imagine the joy of moving into a safe and stable home, a place to call their own, a sanctuary where they can finally begin to heal and rebuild. These are not just feel-good stories, they are tangible examples of what's possible when we invest in our veterans, when we refuse to let them fall through the cracks, when we recognize their inherent worth and their capacity for growth and transformation. The fight to end veteran homelessness is not just about fulfilling a moral obligation, it's about strengthening the fabric of our nation. When we lift up those who have borne the battle, we uplift ourselves. We reaffirm our commitment to the ideals of justice, equality, and opportunity for all. We create a more compassionate, just, and equitable society for generations to come. The veterans who have served our country, who have sacrificed so much in the name of freedom and security, deserve nothing less than our unwavering support. Their struggle is our struggle, their triumph is our triumph. Let us rise to the challenge together and create a future where no veteran is left behind, where every man and woman who has worn the uniform can live with dignity, hope, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Remember to like and subscribe